What is up, Los Angeles, and welcome back to your Rams LAFB show. I am your host, Ryan Anderson, joined, as always, by Erin Coscarelli in her Clark Kent glasses today.
Wow.
Looking good. I like it.
You know,
guys, it's just a cramp. It was only a cramp. Wow, that was a gut-wrenching couple of minutes in between Devonte, Puka, and the like. But considering the injury news around the league, it's not probably not as bad. Patrick Mahomes tore his ACL. Micah Parsons tore his ACL. Christian Watson goes down with a chest injury. Not sure much more beyond that, but interesting things happening around the NFL. Let's take a look at some scores. Obviously, the Rams win.
Phillip Rivers made it out alive. We were
Phillip Rivers made it out
worried
alive.
about that.
Wasn't able to get the win against the Seattle Seahawks. They edged them out 18-16. Of course, the Falcons win, so that doesn't help the Rams draft pick effort. Eagles annihilated the Raiders, which is what they should do. Bills came back and beat the Patriots, which was kind of incredible. And the Bears keep winning. Nobody wants to win the NFC South. The Saints and the Panthers game. The Saints ended up winning that, improving to 4-10, 7-7 for the Panthers. And then the Broncos knock off the Packers. And those, I had my eye on the Packers as the team that could most challenge the Rams in the NFC Championship game. And now without Micah Parsons, that seems like a much less scary prospect.
Yeah, you never want that to be the reason why you do well or your team does better. But, certainly it is an advantage. And, we don't know. I just was reading about what's going on with see, I really cannot see at this point. I was reading about how somebody wrote with an update. Let me see. Hold on. Oh, yeah. Okay. We have an update. Devonte Adams injured the same hamstring. McVay said, talking to Adams post-game, Adams was optimistic, and I think that was like the first thing that we all kind of had a collective, gasp. What's going on? Obviously, I was telling you our injury report.
Yeah.
He kept popping up. He was limited, but McVay said he was a full go during practice. You just don't want to see that be the reason why maybe he pushed it too hard. But it seemed. Don't you think that he has a tear? And if he has a tear, it's or is it a strain? I guess.
Yeah, we probably won't know anything. Unfortunately, this is going to be a really quick turnaround. They got Seattle Seahawks on Thursday night. So I'm sure he's going to be at the very least questionable in that game. But the range of injury outcomes with a hamstring is super wide. I mean, It can affect your play even just with a strain. It seemed like he could put some weight on it, but I mean, with this kind of quick turnaround, at least I imagine he's going to miss at least one game, maybe more. But that's entirely speculation. But it did look pretty painful. So get this bad news out of the way early on, and talk about more optimistic ideas around this game. What's your top line takeaways from a 41-34 win for the Rams?
I mean, where do we start? I think I was curious to see Tutu Atwell's usage. He came up big. He stayed in bounds. That was a great play. You want to see things like that in the event, big playmakers go down. But there were just some weird. I felt like the team started really slow. That really weird missed snap by bobbled snap. Just seemed like timing was off with the center and QB there with Stafford. I posted a roller coaster gif because the first half it felt like, all right, back, we converted, not all right. The Rams converted fourth down in really challenging moments. And I thought, oh, this is gutsy. Wow. 4th and 8. That's gutsy. And they pull it off. And then even with that last Colby Parkinson's touchdown, you lose Devonte, you lose Puka. And what does McVay do? He grits it out and he runs a pass play. I think these are the moments. This is almost like it is playoff football because you don't play to lose, you play to win. Don't take your foot off the gas. I felt like this was a very good team that showed up. Obviously Goff had a lot of reasons why he wanted to win, and Goff played great. 3 touchdowns in the first half. I thought it was a dog fight. And at the end of the day, the better team won.
Yeah. It's a great point. And on paper, heading into this game, I kept saying this is probably the first time that the Rams have had the on paper the better talent on the roster. And then with all the injuries on the Lions side, it was even more evident. And I think in the second half, they really started to look like that team, really, really putting the Detroit Lions defense in a bind the way they should have all game. They weren't getting a lot of pressure. The Lions weren't. All of those DBs injured. Obviously, their linebackers are great players, but I think that's a perfect way to put it. Is this was the better team, and they kind of outlasted a desperate team. They're not completely out of the playoff race, but they dropped down to a 26% chance of making the playoffs as the Bears continue to win. We'll see what happens with the Packers, just because the Packers are kind of like a game and a half with that weird tie in there. So, early on I was thinking, man, Matthew Stafford and Puka Nacua and Davante Adams have to play perfect games, because they weren't perfect. They weren't perfect in that first half. There were some bad drops. There were some errant throws. You mentioned the snap issues. There was some of these fundamental things that we really haven't seen very much of. But then the defense was able to step it up. And an interesting thing is they blitzed at a high rate for this team. They blitzed Jared Goff on over 30% of his dropbacks, which for the Rams, they are around 18% is their average.
Mm-hmm.
So they ratcheted that up to put more pressure on Goff. And it's just kind of like, it's the roulette wheel or rolling the dice. It's like eventually you're going to hit. And they did it just enough. But I mean, those DBs were getting, there was just too many bad matchups. I mean, there was no good answers. Landman was in coverage on Amon-Ra on a couple of plays. You don't want to see that. Emmanuel Forbes, Jameson Williams is just bigger, faster, stronger than him. Josh Wallace had a couple of times, rough game, but the pass rush, once they started dialing that up, they were able to really affect the game in a positive way. And then but really it all starts on the offensive side. It feels like, they have to keep in games like this, they have to keep the foot on the gas, and they did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And Stafford did plenty in this game. Like I said, not a perfect game, but a really, really great game. And then Puka Nacua with 180 yards. And then the running game, sticking with the running game is working really well for this team in 13 personnel. Anyway, what were you going to say?
Yeah, no, it's multifaceted, this offense, a lot of different threats. Like you said, losing Devonte, which, we don't know what his status is as a red zone assassin. Then they find, they go into 13 personnel. They get, Colby Parkinson a couple of times. I think for me, one of the things that seemed like an issue, at least in the very beginning of the game, was because, the Lions came in with injuries. It's not like this team was fully loaded. I feel like they really miss Quentin Lake, their safety. They haven't been able to figure out how to adjust to what that looks like. And there were a lot of great things, but I wonder what we're going to hear from Coach when it comes to the things that he didn't like. How do you clean that up? There was an Emmanuel Forbes pass interference that could have been really dangerous. I think a fully loaded team shouldn't, and coming to LA, I mean, imagine if the Rams had to go on the road and face a team. I think they're still happy that the team was able to get a win. There's a lot of really great moments of responding to adversity, but I think there's Stafford was sacked twice. I was so excited about doing a feature on the offensive line. I wanted to talk to the offensive line coach, and I'm like, now I feel like they're not, they came off a game last week where there was glowing reviews, and now, less so. There's still a great unit. And of course, obviously rushing at an all-time, I'm curious to see what the final stats of what their numbers are in comparison to the rest of the team. But yeah, look, Kyren Williams gets 2 touchdowns. Blake Corum gets his 4th in the last 3 games. It's good to see that this team has many different options, especially in the event something happens with Devonte where he's not available.
Yeah, and you brought up the 4th down tries. I mean, is McVay, has he matched the total of his previous career and this year? Are there 4th down tries? It feels like he finally realized, he's like, I am the world's greatest play caller. I have great players on my team. I don't have to kick it on 4th down. I can go for it. And it took Joshua Carty turning into a pumpkin for him to realize that
I love that.
I got another ace in the hole. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I don't mean I love what happened to Cardi. I'm saying I love that was a reframe for, hey, taking a negative, turning it into a positive, because I'm glad you mentioned that. We haven't seen an issue. Has Mavis he hasn't even missed a kick, right? I mean, it's not like they go to the kick or the field goal, or, they don't really rely on him as much as it seemed like Cardi earlier in the season. They are, as you mentioned, going for it. And I think we haven't seen an issue in their kicking game. Like no block punts. Remember when we were dealing with that every other game?
Yeah, that was insane. And well, and it just brings up that weird interception that Stafford threw early on in the game to Aiden Hutchinson. I'm not harping on Stafford. He ended up having a good game, so I don't want to come across as that. But why I bring that up is, it's sort of like controlling your controllables. Like what do you have the power over? And going for it on 4th down as the world's best play caller, that's within your control. And he's got some confidence now in both his running game and quarterback and wide receivers and tight ends. I mean, we haven't mentioned Colby Parkinson yet, but I believe 74 yards for him and a touchdown. Yeah, 181 for Puka Nacua. And then, I'm just so impressed with the offense.
And now, you get a nice pad, or at least you're staying up, because obviously the Seahawks end up they're now everybody's 11-3, and the Rams clinch. They can take a little bit of a breather. They can reassess. They don't need to put, obviously they need to still go and compete for the 1 seed. But do you think that if Devonte's okay, you think you rest him next week in the event he is, playable?
I mean, if he's healthy enough to be out there, I would keep him in the game, really, honestly. Just because he is so important to the team, not just on the goal line, but he makes some incredible catches all across the field. I mean, he's getting a lot of attention because he's got all of those touchdowns. But you look at the depth chart, what they have at wide receiver. We're talking about Tutu Atwell, who before Devonte went out, he had 3 total snaps and 1 target after being a healthy scratch for 2 weeks. I like Jordan Whittington. He's not a do-it-all receiver, though. I like Konate Mumfield, but he's like it's basically Colby Parkinson and Puka Nacua if Devonte is not out there, really. I mean, well, maybe I'm wrong and one of those guys really steps up on Thursday. But I think you got to, if he's able to be out there, he's got to be dressed and out there occasionally at the very least. It's
worth asking. It's worth asking what people think. I'm curious, like maybe if people are watching or tuning in, what do you think? Because some people were saying rest people and hold them out for the all important game. But a lot of people could think that this division game is a very important game. And then they have Atlanta next after Seattle, and then Arizona at home. right?
Mhm.
One of the things that was really interesting to me, Rye, I wanted to ask you was, were you at all frustrated in any moment of the game with Terren Ferguson? Did you think that some of those should have been like, it's a
Yeah.
rookie. Don't get me
Mhm.
wrong. It's a rookie, but like you're playing a big boy sport. He had 2 drop passes, right? I was he's made some plays and he's good in the, he helps out in the blocking, but those were frustrating opportunities that, you just don't want to see happen. And I wonder how many of those he'll get.
That's the most interesting point. He's been used in a limited fashion, and we can't really point to, oh well, he missed some time in training camp because he's been hurt. He's been available. And I think it's kind of like Blake Corum last year, where it's like, why
Mhm.
isn't he out there? And there's never not a reason that a guy isn't on the field. Now, sometimes McVay has been wrong about a few guys occasionally, but for me with Blake Corum, it was always can he operate in pass protection as well?
Mhm.
Because it took Kyren even a couple of years to get up to speed in his ability in that facet. So I think it has to do. I believe it has to do with his inability as a blocker. I don't want to say
Mhm.
inability. His lacking where he's lacking. It took Davis Allen a few years to get up to speed as a drafted wide receiver or as a drafted tight end to earn playing time as a first starter, and he's become a much better blocker. So I think that's where it is. So
And
you
it's not
know,
easy. McVay's playbook is not an easy playbook to understand.
well, to contrast his lack of playing time to a guy like Konate Mumpfield. Mumpfield has been the wide receiver on the field during 13 personnel. It's not as a target.
Mhm.
He's just out there blocking his butt off in 13 personnel. So you got to earn your opportunities, and the big drawback is they spend a second round pick on him, and it's like you want your first
Mhm.
overall pick to be in a factor in the game. So
True.
uh, I'm not slamming the bust button yet for sure. I'm
Right.
still seeing a lot of good things out of him, and I believe that he can get there. But it would be awesome if he was another option on top of it. If it was Puka, Devonte, Colby, and then Davis Allen and Terren Ferguson in big roles as well. But yeah, I don't. Yeah, I have the offense is churning at such a phenomenal level right now that
Mhm.
I'm,
Mhm.
could it be better? I suppose, and we'll see what it looks like without Devonte, and we'll get the true diagnosis and how long this is going to go. So yeah,
Yeah. Uh, It'll be interesting. I think you make a great point. If you burn a second rounder, you want at least to see some sort of, you know, effective contribution. But, again, he gets to be in a tight end room where he will be, if we're seeing this improvement from, or this development from Corum year 2, we can only imagine, what that is going to potentially look like with Terrence Ferguson. Another interesting moment during the game, a little controversial. Was that a Colby Parkinson touchdown?
oh, I was so confused by that. I thought he was down. Um, oh, sorry, I was distracted by a comment that I want to pull up.
We'll get to you. We'll get to you. I saw it. I saw it. I mean, we talked about that. We talked about that. But first, what do you think about Colby?
Yeah, I don't think that was a touchdown. I kind of understand the call on it, but I mean, I'm glad they ruled that way just for the sake of the Rams win. But yeah, a little controversy there.
Yeah, like a little
Let's
little gimme situation. Yeah. Carlos, we're reading your comments. Oh my goodness. We talked about this. We did talk about it. You may have not joined the show yet, but we said they miss safety Quentin Lake. And he's coming back. I mean, he's got how many more weeks? 2 more weeks, right? 2 more weeks on IR? I mean, 4 weeks
well two
essentially.
more weeks on IR, but that doesn't necessarily be might doesn't necessarily mean he's coming back, but we'll see. I mean, I think they said he might be back for the playoffs. And they're always so optimistic. I never know exactly where what they actually mean.
Mm-hmm.
The DBs, I don't know if I have more to say about it. I think, it can't be overstated that this defense is built on the front.
Mm-hmm.
You look at the rest of the investment, whether that's draft or actual capital, their defense they have it like Landman and Omar Spates are both UDFAs. Jalen McCullough's a UDFA. Josh Wallace is a UDFA. Darius Williams was not re-signed by the Jaguars. Akella Witherspoon. Why was Akella Witherspoon not on the roster? Is he still hurt? Was he a healthy scratch? Darian Kendrick has not played at all. Who am I missing here? I think Kobe Durant's been fine.
Cam
Curl. All that draft investment. 2 years. We're going to talk about contracts soon, you and I. 2 years in a row, 4 defensive linemen. They have to get home. And I mentioned earlier, Carlos, that they dialed up more blitzes outside of what they normally do, outside of their normal tendencies, dialing up blitzes up to over 30% blitz rate in this game from 18 is their average on the year. And that saved their butts today. It took all the pressure off of the DBs. And listen, Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jamison Williams are 2 of the best at what they do.
Yeah.
They were going to get yardage. And a great thing that happened is they kept Jahmyr Gibbs from having really any explosive plays in this game whatsoever, which was one of my fears. And going back to the offense, what the offense did coming out of halftime, putting up points, there was some urgency that the Detroit Lions started playing with at that point that forced them to throw the ball more, run the ball less. And I keep going back to it. I'm going to call it the Dave Canales game plan. He ran the ball 40 times, threw it 20 times. He forced the Rams defense to stay honest, stay up on the defensive line. And then he just hits a couple of explosive passing plays that look just like child's play. The Detroit Lions did not stay disciplined in their play calling. And it's hard to when Stafford's just pinning things on Puka Nacua. I really want to see Puka Nacua going up against like somebody like Pat Surtain, or the guy in Houston that I can't think of his name right now, Singletary, Devin Singletary, just to see what would happen, because he just looks unstoppable, and the sidelines have been his best friend. It's kind of it wasn't lost on me that he got caught. He got hurt catching over the middle instead of getting, making a catch on the outside. So anyway.
Yeah. Puka has 336 receiving yards combined over the last 2 games. Torrey Holt was the last player to ever do that.
Oh, wow.
In 2003 per Rams PR. This guy's Pro Bowler this year. Just again, what I love about Puka, let me ask you this. What is it about him uniquely? I know I've asked you this already, but like every time we see him play, it's different. It's like, it's just different than other wide receivers. There's something about like a video game type catch, or he gets separation. He's so athletic. He's so durable. He's so reliable. Stafford and him just see telepathically. Like he needles it in. And I don't know if there's been an interception this year that was delivered to Puka, intended for Puka. I don't think so, right? I can't remember. But and even Stafford's only had 5 interceptions. So, right, there's not very many to think to, but they speak a different language, Stafford and Puka.
Yeah. The thing I keep coming back to is like, they're so lucky to have each other, because they play the game in the same way, where like Stafford's like, I can make that throw. Whether he can or he can't, he believes he can.
Yeah.
So he threads it in there, fires it. It looks like it's going to sail out of bounds. What is it about Puka Nacua that makes him great? It's so many things. He's improved as a route runner. I think he's got a more complete tree. I think now that the offense has opened up a bit more, he's being used in a different way. I mentioned, that play where he got injured was over the middle of the field. There used to be a lot more of those. He used to have to fight and claw for yards after the catch.
Right.
Now he's being used as like a true X receiver down the field along the sidelines, which is better overall for his health because he's just getting pushed out of bounds rather than like having a linebacker punching at him and then a safety crashing down on him. So that's my theory on that one, which was how Cooper Kupp played the game and got hurt a whole bunch. So now that this offense has evolved, he's evolved as a route runner, and his body control and his hands and just his spatial awareness of where he is on the sideline. Just some of those balls that he's caught on the sideline where, it's beyond toe tap.
Yeah.
So he's just a unique, special talent, that 5th rounder.
Yeah.
And it's funny because people will be like, they'll use that as being like, wow, look at how the Rams are able to identify late round talent. It's like they wouldn't have let him hit the 5th round if they thought he was going to turn into this guy. They would have snapped him up as whatever their first pick was in that draft. But I mean, here's the thing that sports people say is, you know what we're not talking enough about? That Rams draft class, the 2023 Rams draft class. Oh man, it's a beaut. It's a real beaut.
Yeah, Byron was in that, right? Wasn't it Byron?
Byron and Kobe,
Turner. Kyren was the year after, right? Yeah.
2022 was Kyren, yeah.
2022. And then Puka was. I mean, again, it's like these studs that were steals.
Yeah.
Steals that became studs that are steals. Whatever it is, it's working, and it's, and you wrote an article on it, and I think it's going to be something we should talk about, which is how the Rams navigate the future for contracts.
Yeah.
Affording everybody. Keeping everybody together. And now, hold on, let me make another really amazing, awesome point. Okay? So, whatever it was, it must have been either Wednesday or Friday. I don't know. It was a joke that I think it was Wednesday. A joke that Devonte said about if Stafford retires, he's retired. Well, now listen, let me tell you something, guys. If Devonte is out and he's not coming back, Stafford is definitely playing next season. You heard it here first, folks. Because you better believe Devonte is not retiring, even if they go to the Super Bowl without one more. Like taking this team to this where they're at, and let's say, I mean, we don't know Devonte's, we don't know his status yet. I'm sure they'll know more tomorrow, but that's a fair point I just made, right? Like if you just want to forebode the future and think about like if Devonte really is potentially not coming back, well, guess what? He's making Stafford come back next year with him. So.
Yeah, I mean, the ball is completely in Stafford's court. He can go any direction he wants to, and I wouldn't blame him for either one, regardless of what happens at the end of the season. So I'm just going to go through this draft class really quickly.
Go.
I think there's 12. Steve Avila, Byron Young, Kobe Turner, Stetson Bennett, Nick Hampton, Warren McClendon, who's now basically looks like he's going to be the starter, Davis Allen, who we've talked about, Puka Nacua. They picked Davis Allen before Puka Nacua in the 5th round. They had Nick Hampton, Warren McClendon, Davis Allen, Puka Nacua, all 5th rounders. Puka was the last one. Travius Tomlinson, O'Shawn Mathis, Zach Evans, all off the team. Ethan Evans, the punter, underrated for sure. Safety Jason Taylor not on the team. And then Desjuan Johnson rounding it out in the 7th, who got a bunch of playing time today as an edge rusher, with Nick Hampton being moved to the practice squad in another weird move. So the point in bringing up 2023 is a lot of those guys are going to need contracts. Like Puka's going to get paid this offseason in his third year. There's Kobe Turner, Steve Avila. You got to wonder about all of those contracts, which we'll dive into. But pretty phenomenal draft there, I would have to say. So yeah, I also wanted to shout out Kobe Turner. Speaking of Kobe Turner, he had a really great game. The inside of the Detroit Lions offensive line was really banged up, and he took full advantage with a bunch of pressures, a sack, a couple of tackles for loss. So great to see that from him. A couple of bright shining spots on the defense at the very least.
Yeah, I was wanting, I posted about turnovers. Rams need a turnover. Rams need the momentum. I think that's been one of the things that we haven't seen, which is in the middle of these sort of moments where you're just feeling like stressed out. You're like, the Rams need momentum shifters, momentum changers where they can gain confidence. I still feel like this team is very young. And there is an emotional maturity that is still being developed by this team that when they're not crushing it, they're not dialed in yet. They're not really focused.
Yeah, it's a good point. The defense specifically, when they're on the balls of their feet moving forward, let's call it as an analogy, they're great. They're on their heels a little bit.
Yeah.
I tweeted out something about Chris Shula and his fastball. If you think of him as a pitcher, he's got a fastball. It's really great. It gets a lot of people out, but I wanted to see what's the curve. What's the change up that he's got in the bag to counteract some of these things, and dialing up blitzes was kind of a variation. So that was nice to see, but playoffs are a different beast. I think they're the best. I think they're the best team going into the playoffs, but yeah.
You've said that. You've been saying that.
I mean, I
stand by it.
I stand by it, and we'll see what happens on Thursday. But Sam Darnold didn't have a great game against the Colts, so that offense did not move the ball very well. I haven't watched it. I just looking from the final score, just 18 points. And the Colts have a good defense, but nothing world beating for sure. Before we get out of here, Sleeper Fantasy, fastest growing daily fantasy site in the world, let's say, maybe in the United States. Anyway, sign up, use code Rams LAFB, put up to $100 in there. They're going to match every dollar of that. What are you going to do with those? You're going to use that to play daily fantasy. You can daily pick'ems, overs and unders, and it's a ton of fun. You can bet on, or you can play this with Rams games or NBA or NHL or all that good stuff. And if you don't want to put any money in, they're going to give you free $20 just for signing up. Use the same code. You'll get that money in your account, and you can go play. There's a social aspect to it. You can meet new Rams fans. You can play with your friends. You can compare notes. There's good friendly competition there for sure. Any final thoughts? What are your thoughts heading into week 16? The season's almost gone.
Well, I think the glaring issues are what we're going to figure out this week, and and you guys can send questions in. I'll ask Coach, but I think it's like, what's the status of Devonte? And if he is okay, would they, treat him gingerly? Would they save him? I think all these things that, this Rams team now heading into week 16, now what, 12-3? No. Yeah. 11-3. Excuse me. Sorry. 11-3. How does this, what are the choices and decisions that this team is going to make? Do you rest Devonte? Do you play Devonte? How do you adjust with what some of the people who've mentioned with regards to the secondary? How do you shore up some of that? So I think I'm just curious to see how this team, as always, every week, how they will respond. But I like what we saw. I mean, we had great performance out of Blake Corm again. the gutsy calls with punching it in with Colby. I think the biggest issue is, hopefully Devonte will be okay, but we don't know yet.
Yeah, that seems to have affected your view of this game pretty profoundly.
What?
Devonte going down.
Are you saying because I'm wearing glasses or I'm not following?
Usually I'm more the doom and gloom one, and you're the one that's like trying to pull me into positivity.
Oh yeah,
I thought it was our roles.
I mean, don't you think it's not good?
No, it's not small. I mean, yeah, I mean, and this is the worst possible timing for it to happen. I have a hard time imagining this is going to be a full go after Monday, Tuesday, 3 days rest. I mean, but that's a problem for another day.
Guess what? I'm going to, as soon as we wrap, Google ChatGPT, what are the varying degrees of a hamstring injury? And I will be tweeting it out and letting you all know, because Dr. Coscarelli is here to deliver the facts. But
well, I
cannot wait.
It is a wide variety there. I mean, it can be season ending. It can be short term. With these soft tissue injuries, I still Google it and still find the answers for these people. I gotta get to a Christmas party, so I won't be doing any tweeting. But
I'll CC you.
Perfect. Yeah. Well, add Erin Coscarelli on all the social platforms. She's a great follow for sure. Follow us, Rams LAFB. If you're not, like and subscribe over on YouTube. Helps us out a ton. I am RL Anderson, LAFB on Twitter. That's pretty much all I'm on. maybe one day Instagram. And LAFB Network, you can go read all of my, if you don't like listening to my voice, you can go read all my thoughts there, because I only have a certain amount of takes that I can spit out in any given week. But appreciate you guys. Thanks so much, friends, for joining us, and we will see you shortly. I'll be back probably tomorrow with our friend Tuna, Pierce DeLuna, kind of recapping this game in depth. And then I got a special guest for Wednesday, former player, kind of a big deal. I love this guy. He brings out the worst in me in the best way. Until then, guys.